they could be doing more with their lives. They realize that they could actually go for things in life that matter to them, and yet people get stuck. Now, one thing is that it's very hard to move and go toward your goals when you don't have the kind of support and understanding you need to get where you want to get to. So I think ancient scripture says it powerfully when it says that without knowledge, the people perish. So, one way to ensure that you thrive in life and don't perish is that you gather knowledge. And it's exciting to be here tonight with you at Understanding Paradigms, to be able to gather knowledge with you, to share knowledge with you that does not only help you get toward your goals, but liberates you to be able to create a life of service, a life that pleases you yourself and serves others. And it's something that is so powerful. It's a dream of mine come through to get the opportunity to share such things with you. And that is wonderful. Now, before we go into it, I want to say, first of all, that everyone has a story. You meet has a story. You yourself, as you have a story. And now it's very important that there are people who, in their story, are taking background roles in their own story. So, as it were, they are showing their own movie and they are not the main character in their own movie because they do not understand what it takes to take center and like the protagonist in their own movie or like the main character of their own movie to steer their own story to the destination they want. So tonight it's all about you. It's all about your own story. It's about your marvelous potential and it's about bringing out more of yourself to the surface so that you can begin to do as you truly wish and not get caught up in the normal doings or the trappings of everyday life. I want to share a bit of my story with you as I speak about everyone else's story. As a young person, I had always been interested in helping others. Now, where we lived, I saw a little bit of poverty and I saw a little bit of riches mixed up in the same space that we found ourselves. And that, from a very young age, sparked a couple of questions in me as to why some people do well and why some people don't do well. It just didn't make sense to me that people could be in the same area and yet some of them would be doing well and some are doing abysmally. So, growing up, I've always also wanted to have my own business. I've always wanted to be able to live a life of freedom that allows me to do the things that matter to me, do the things that are important to me. And for me, I think that's one of the biggest blessings I've had in this life. Being able to decide to be independent and go where you want to go instead of just staying stuck and doing. Fast forward, I am in the university doing my own thing, running a business and doing pretty well. But I realized something that in as much as I am living, I'm enjoying myself, I have a business in school that's powerful. I realized something that things are not going exactly as I would want them to go. What does this mean? Simply means that you take a look at the business you're running and you realize that there could be more that you would be doing. There could be more out of this. You could be doing more than what you're just doing. And it becomes quite important for you to sit down and assess what's going on. What could you be doing that you're not doing? And for me, that was a very important starting point. As I went through the normal daily routines, doing what every young entrepreneur was doing, going through the mistakes, going through the motions, I realized that deep down, there was something more that I was looking for that I could not necessarily lay a hand on, but I knew there was something more. You're running business. There are days where it's going well, there are days where it's not going great, there are days where you're not making payroll, there are days there is abundance. Now, good fortune came to me when a pastor friend of mine gave me a book titled The Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. And this is somewhere around university. I'm just about getting done. And it was a powerful book for me that set me on a path of transformation. Now, fast forward somewhere around 2019, I remember that I had read a book like that. This is around 2019 at the onset of COVID 19, where things are beginning to look gloomy. We are predicting that it's not going to go well. We are predicting a lot of things. And these were times where it was quite disheartening because I was, let's say, a bit stuck. But I remember that someone had offered me a book that seemed to have a lot of insight as of the time that it had been given to me. So then I decided that why not go back to the book? Why not go back and pick up on a few ideas? Because, first of all, this book has been very monumental to the business. I picked up a couple of things, but this time around, I went into the book with a certain attitude that said that I was looking for something and I was willing to make change. Now, in the book Secrets of the Millionaire Mind, he speaks about how that every effect has a cause, and that if you want to be certain of the effect you want, you can always take a look at the causes, input the causes, and then just like that, you can get the kind of effect you want. Missionary John Francis Abbabio, you're welcome to Understanding Paradigms. It's an honor to have you here. Now, that was very powerful information. Now you understand that in this life, nobody who wants to reap mangoes goes to work sowing oranges. And he spoke about how that a lot of us, in our quest for results, do the wrong things because we do not understand how results are created. Now, you first have to understand that according to the law of cause and effect, every effect you want to get, every result you are looking for in life is an effect. And if you can go to work understanding the causes that are caused to produce that effect, then you can be assured that whatever result you are looking for, you can have. And that is powerful information. Now, he spoke about how that rich people think very differently from poor people. Rosemary Safo Kantanka, you're welcome to the meeting. It's an honor to have you. He said that rich people think differently from poor people and middle class people. And that is something that was profound because I was willing to go through and understand what actually it was that separated the poor person from the rich person. And the first distinction he made in the book, he said that rich people believe I create my life, while poor people believe life happens to me. I take it again. He said that rich people, they believe they create their lives, while poor people believe that life happens to them. Now, for me, this was revolutionary information. This was mind blowing because here I was, and it was rather unconscious to me at that moment, but I realized that I had the mindset of someone who was waiting for life to happen to them. I had a mindset that said that it's going to happen. I didn't know how, and I left things to chance. And just like that, it drew my mind to the fact that could I, by my casual attitude of waiting for life to happen, be causing all the things that are happening in my life, even though I do not know? And this was a moment of reflection. Now, when I read it back then, I took it in the context. I was looking at rich people and I was looking at poor people. But the kind of information I met made me now begin to question. If rich people say they create their lives, and poor people say life happens to me, and rich people go ahead and create a life and make it work, then could it be that I could now take a look at my own finances? Now, beyond my own finances, I interpreted this to mean that successful people create their lives and unsuccessful people think life happens to them. And the idea of, could this be true? Does this mean that in the area of my business and in my results in business, I could create the kind of results I wanted? This was at a point where I was almost about 120 kg. And I wanted to find out, if successful people create their own lives, could I create my own health? If by my thinking, by my feelings and actions, I create my own life, then could I take charge of my own health? Could I take charge of my own happiness? Could I take charge of my own wealth? Could I take charge of all the parts of my life that were important to me? Could I really live the kind of life I wanted to live? Not bothered about my results, not bothered about the fact that I was being unhealthy. And this was something that was worth looking into. Now, I come from a background where it's easy to leave things to God and say, God will do this, and we just, with blind faith, go about. And in the end, if things don't happen for us, we get disappointed. But now I understood that if this was true, then I had a certain master key that could help me get whatever I wanted in life. And I was dedicated to go everywhere to study whatever it took to understand this in depth so that I could organize my life and get the kind of results I want. And beyond that, to be able to help others create the kind of results they want. And for me, that was powerful. One of the most important things I want you to pick up from today is the fact that rich people believe they create their lives and poor people believe that life happens to them. Now, if you take it away from just the place of the rich and the poor, you want to say successful people, people who get what they are looking for in life, people who don't make excuses, people who get the finer things in life. They say that they create their lives. So if you are here, as you are here at Paradigm Shift, understanding paradigms, one of the first paradigm shifts you are going to have is the paradigm shift that says that if my life is going to change, then it's going to happen by me. Successful people believe that they create their lives, while unsuccessful people believe that life happens to them. Unsuccessful people blame circumstances for what happens. Unsuccessful people blame the setup of the world for the reason why they are not able to get where they want to get to. But successful people understand that the setup of the world is the setup of the world. And so, what that means is that if you find yourself in a place where the circumstances do not favor you, the odds may not be in your favor. Instead of now complaining and saying you are disadvantaged, what the successful person does is that they say, because I create my results, I can go to work understanding the law of cause and effect, that whatever effect I want to get, if I can learn its causes and put the causes into play, then if I am looking for the result or the effect of good health, I can just input the causes and I know that I'm going to get it. Now, anybody who plants mango seeds in the soil knows that come harvest time, they are going to get their mangoes. So, if you can understand that successful people believe they create their lives, and now you go to work putting into effect the things successful people do, then you can guarantee yourself a shot at creating a life that serves you. And that is powerful. That's very powerful. Now, I grew up in a bit of a village, and growing up as someone with a single parent, it was interesting the things I picked up because I was the child of a single parent. Now you realize that there are things you learn from childhood that you go on applying in life, and they begin to get you the kind of results you get. Now, before I come to your childhood, still on the matter of successful people believe they create their lives, while unsuccessful people think life happens to them. The question now becomes, when it comes to your relationships, knowing very well that people who do successfully in their relationships go for the kind of results they want. Now you want to ask yourself, if I choose to have a better health, as we are saying, successful people create their own results. If I opt for better health, can I make it happen? If I opt for a better bank balance, can I make it happen? If I want better relationships, can I make it happen? If I want to lose some weight, can I make it happen? If I want to increase my sales, can I make it happen? The question is, can you make it happen? And another question is, what do you want? Knowing that successful people create their results, you can now say that it doesn't matter what the setup is, I will create the kind of results I want. I know it has been said that my metabolism is like this, but I can create the kind of health I want. I know it has been said that the economy is like this, but I can create the kind of business I want. Why? Because successful people create their lives, and unsuccessful people think life happens to them. Now, armed with this powerful information, I started reading. I told myself something very powerful, that if it is true that I create my own results, then whatever I don't know for which reason I am creating haphazard results, I will go to work finding out. I'll go to work finding out the things I'm supposed to know, and so that I can get the kind of results I want. I started picking up books. I read Atomic Habits. I read books on habits. I read books on the mind. I read books on the philosophy of success. Spent a lot of time devouring books. Now, as I started doing that, I remember when I started, I told myself, if this is true, I want to just test it in one area of my life first. I want to take a look at my health and my weight. If it is true that successful people create their results, then I was going to create the kind of results I was looking for in my weight. I started looking for the literature, started trying to understand what causes weight loss, how do people lose weight, how do people make it happen. Then I started finding the information, started going on YouTube, looking for the information, consistently studying, trying new things. And every time you realize that as you go on for a search of information, you will then begin to find out that all the information that is supposed to help you get where you are supposed to get has always been there. And it is your availability and your readiness that determines whether the way is going to be open for you or not. So if you don't open yourself up for the kind of results you are looking for, to go on a quest and look for the causes for the results you're looking for, you're going to end up spiraling around, drifting around through life, and thinking that things are not set up well for you. That is the reason why you don't get what you want. So you realize that a lot of us have excuses. Unsuccessful people think in terms of excuses. Unsuccessful think in terms of all the reasons why it cannot happen. But successful people understand that I will do what it takes. Successful people understand that I will study the books if that's what it takes. I will go to the seminars. I'll ask someone who knows what I don't know. I will do whatever it takes to make sure that I move to the next level that I am supposed to get to, irrespective of the excuses, irrespective of all the things that stand to stop me in my tracks from getting where I want to get to. Successful people understand that if they want a result, they have to go for it. If you want something, you're going to have to go for it. Now, in a short while, something very funny happened to me. I realized that something had changed. A few months after I had started studying and trying new things and giving attention to my own growth, I realized something very important, that my weight was drastically going down. Just like that, I was losing weight like nobody's business. And it was not until people started asking me, "Hey, is everything okay? Are you okay? Are you sure you're not sick?" It was not until then that I decided that, hey, I really wanted to see results, but something is happening. I have tried this in the past. I have tried to lose weight in the past. It didn't work. How had it worked this time? How had I lost so much weight this time around? I was just reading a couple of books and just doing some mild exercise. I'll walk here and there, do a few joggings here and there, and just start taking care of a couple of things. So what had happened? What had happened? Then I began to find out, I began to study how it had happened, because the thing is, for me, it's not exciting to create a result. The exciting thing about getting results for me is not in the fact that I have been able to get the result, but being beyond being able to get the result, I was very invested in being able to help another get the result, to help another replicate the result. If someone asks you, how do you get this done? You want to be able to help them hold their hand and take them through a process that helps them get it done. And for me, that was very important. So I started finding out what has happened. What is responsible for this change? How come all of a sudden my health is doing well? All of a sudden it's translating into my finances? How come all of a sudden it's everywhere? Things are beginning to change. My bank accounts began to respond to it. The kind of friends I had began to respond to it. Everything around me began to respond to this change because I understood something. I had now decided that instead of letting life happen to me, I was going to take charge of my own life and take care of the kind of results I want. And as I kept on studying, my mind was drawn to something very powerful, and it is the reason for which we find ourselves here. I found out that We are programmed to get the kind of results we get in life. And this is where it gets very important. We are programmed to get the kind of results we get in life. And as a result, because a lot of us do not understand this programming, because a lot of us do not know about this programming, we are caught up in a place where we do not want, and sometimes it can be very devastating. I found out that the reason why some people do well and the reason why others do not do well is because of programming. And the kind of programming that you've been programmed determines the kind of results you get in life. What is this programming I speak of? You see, when we are born, and we are not consciously here yet. So, what happens is that the environment we find ourselves in, we pick up information from the environment we find ourselves in, which is our parents, our siblings, the school we go to, our teachers, the kind of friends we have. And that programming determines, it creates a world view for you. The way you are programmed from birth determines the bounds of where you can go. You see, if you have a child that grows up with parents who are always having difficulty with money, it's very highly likely that they are going to grow up and end up being the same as their parents. Why does this happen? Why is it that you find that if the parents of a person are rich, it is very highly likely that the children that follow are also going to be rich? This is where we come to mental programming. When you are born, you come here. You see, you are programmed in two ways. You are programmed genetically, number one. You are programmed genetically. That's why you look like your parents. A little particle of daddy and a little particle of mommy come together, and that becomes the nucleus of you. And 9 months down the line, you make your debut on the planet. Now, when you come here, because you do not have any idea what is going on, you begin to pick up on the information that is here. Are you following me? Herbert, from the phone and delete videos. I mean, when you grow up, you realize that you find yourself doing the things that people around you are doing. So if you find yourself in a place where in the marriage of your parents, there were lots of issues, you find out that as you grow and try to live a romantic life, you begin to face the same issues your parents were facing, or you begin to face similar issues. Why does this happen? When you got here, you did not know how to navigate. And you picked up information from the people who were around you. So, whatever information you pick up now becomes the mirror through which you see the world, and it becomes the way which you go. So, for myself, I realized that whenever I will find myself in a romantic relationship, I began to see a trend in the kind of issues I saw in my relationship. And until I understood programming, I did not know how come I was doing the same things, meeting the same people, and finding myself with the same issues over and over and over and over again. I didn't understand why I was sabotaging my own health. Even though I wanted to be more healthy, I still kept on doing things that were against my good health. And this is as a result of programming. We are programmed to get the kind of results we get. You see, your thoughts, they lead to your feelings. When you think about something, they lead to your feelings. Your feelings lead to actions. Your actions lead to results. Now, your thinking, which is supposed to lead to your feelings, which leads to your actions and leads to your results. Your thinking comes from your programming. You are programmed to think the way you think. That is why you get the kind of results you get. And if you want to change the kind of results you get, you have to learn to change your programming. Tilt the screen now. You have to learn to change your programming. We are all programmed to get the kind of results we get. So now, you take a look at your own wonderful life. You take a look at the kind of results you've been getting. And the kind of results you've been getting is an indicator of the kind of programming you've been programmed with. So, see, there are people who were programmed with a statement like, money is the root of all evil. So, as you follow, you understand that your programming leads to your thoughts. If money is the root of evil in your mind, that is in your programming mind, and that thing was repeated to you over and over and over and over and over to you, and that is how between the ages of 0 and 7, whatever constant information is being played around you becomes the kind of information that you pick up, and you begin to move according to that information. So if you found yourself in a place where there were business people and they were excited about getting business and winning clients and all that, and they were always going and coming, you realize that it's very easy for you to grow up and end up also having an affinity toward business. If you grew up in a place where they were reserved about money, there was never enough money, you realize that in your life, the same thing is happening. And that is very important, that you take a look at the current results you are getting and see, are these the kind of results I want? It's very important for you to take a look at the kind of results you're looking for. And then you want to take a look at the kind of programming that you have been programmed. Because if you do not take a look at your programming, you could be setting yourself up for a lot of failure. We become what we think about. What we think about consistently becomes our results. And that's why it's important to take a look at the kind of thinking you are getting involved in. And that's why it's important to take a look at the kind of programming. I told a story one time of a woman who, when she would prepare fish for her family, what she would do is that she would cut off both ends of the fish before she would fry. Now, one time her husband asked her, why do you consistently do it this? Why do you do it this way all the time? Then she responded with, because my mom used to do it that way. Now, fortunately, her mom had visited, so they just went around, they asked her, hey, mom, grandma, why did you do it this way? Then she also said, that is because my mom used to do it that way. So they phoned grandma and found out, grandma, why did you cut off both ends of the fish before you would fry them? And grandma answered and said, the reason why I did that was because my pan was too small. Now, 2 generations down the line, they were doing the same thing and getting the same results. And that was simply because they had been programmed to do so. And that probably was not the best way. They were just wasting fish. So you see, also in your life, there are things you have picked up by way of programming that may not be serving you very well. There are some people who think that they should not become rich because becoming rich is for greedy people. And this idea has been repeated over and over and over and over in their mind so much that it is now stuck in their mind. And so, even though they are hardworking and they are doing all they can to make sure that they get somewhere, their programming is saying that I cannot become rich. I cannot make anything. And then when your programming is saying one thing, it doesn't matter the kind of actions you do, your programming will always bring you back to the kind of result it is programmed to get. So take a look at your paradigm. Your paradigm is a set of ideas that control the way you act. They control the way you think. Think of a paradigm like an air condition. Now, if you have an air condition in your room, you set the temperature to 17 degrees. What happens is that the thermostat kicks in and it goes on and it brings the room temperature to 17. Now, if something happens and hot air comes into the room and distorts the temperature, what happens is that the thermostat kicks in again and then brings the temperature back. If the air in there becomes too cold so that the room temperature, what happens is that now the thermostat cuts off and it compensates for that. Another example of how programming is done is when you go to pick a flight, the flight has a flight pattern already programmed into it. So what happens is that the pilot has something that is called autopilot. Now, when he gets into the air, they switch to autopilot mode, and the plane is going to get to wherever has been programmed that it's getting to. And even if it deviates from the course, the autopilot mechanism will simply do a calculation and make sure that as a result of the calculation, it recalibrates and gets it back on track. Another way to illustrate this programming is this. If you've ever watched a movie where a rocket was launched at someone, let's say there is a target. Now you realize that when a rocket is launched, what happens is that it goes on its way to try and find the target that it has been launched at. And what it does is that as it goes on its way, it calibrates the information, takes a look at where it's supposed to be, and then it gradually, what it does gradually is that as it veers off and goes all about, what it does is that it finds a way to make sure that it calibrates and compensates for the veering off, so that it doesn't matter, even if it came to pass you, it will still go around, recalibrate, and come and hit its target. And this is very important because to understand your own programming, you have to take a look at how programming is done, so that now with this understanding, you can go to work on your own programming and create the kind of results you want. And that is very powerful. Your own programming. It's very imperative that you begin to understand the results you are getting today in this life. It is not because you cannot do better. It is not because that is all there is for you. When you take a look at your health, when you take a look at your happiness, when you take a look at your wealth, when you take a look at the kind of results you are getting, that is not all you could become. There is so much more hidden beneath the surface of what you have become. And if only you can go to work understanding and working on your own programming, your mental programming, which has defined the bounds of what you can do, which has defined the bounds of what is possible for you. If only you could redefine your own programming, You could very well set yourself on a path where whatever you're looking for, you could get. And it begins by understanding your own programming. Very important. It's already 5:52. It's coming and saying that, hey, this is the results I am getting. If I like the kind of results I'm getting, then that is fine. You want to take a look at your bank balance today. You want to take a look at the kind of relationships you're having. You want to take a look at the results you are getting in your romantic relationships. You want to take a look at the way your business is going. You want to take a look at your career. And you want to ask yourself, is the results I am getting the kind of results I want? If the answer is no, you may not be where you want to be right now. But the liberating thing is this: successful people create their own lives. And you see, when you understand programming, you do not necessarily have to go to work doing so much, because the moment you begin to change your programming, it leads to a new set of thoughts that begin to leads to different sets of feelings, which lead to different kinds. One way I'd program myself, I used to tell myself, I used to believe my metabolism is high, so I can't do anything about the fact that I'm gaining excess weight. Then I'll tell myself, as an entrepreneur, I get up very early and come to work, and I go to the house very late. I have no time to exercise. Exercising is difficult because I used to think that it was up to someone to make it happen for me. But the moment I had a paradigm change and understood that if it's going to happen, irrespective of your metabolism or whatever excuses you may have, you can make it happen. I understood that if you are working late and closing late, you can eat at 6 p.m., you can eat at 5 p.m. instead of waiting till you get home at 9 to eat. And your programming causes you to think. If your programming says that there is nothing I can do about my health, then what's going to happen is that you are going to do very little about your health. So if your programming says that, hey, I'm a businessman, I come home late and I have to eat late, then what you're going to do is that you're consistently going to do that. But then now when your programming says that I'm going to do whatever it takes to get the kind of results I want, then you realize that you begin to think new thoughts that lead you in the place you want to go. We're just getting started off on programming. Tomorrow, I'm going to speak about how your program is formed. Programming is formed in detail. I'm going to talk about how your programming is changed. I'm going to talk about how your programming affects you and how to reprogram yourself for success. This is very important. If you understand that our programming is the one that leads to our thoughts, feelings, actions, and results, and that if we can change our programming, we can change our results, then we take back our power, understanding that if it is good health we want, if it is a better bank balance, if it is better sales, if it is a promotion at the workplace, whatever it is that you desire, the current result you are getting is as a result of your programming. And if only you can change your programming, you can go for better results. If you can change your programming, you can go for better results. If you can change your programming, you can go for better results. It's already 5:56. At this point, if I have any questions, I want to take any questions that are available. If you have any questions, quickly just lift up your hands and ask your question.